Good morning. This is a lesson about one of the more basic elements in architecture, that is the door. The door is a specific element that connects the indoor and the outdoor, that open to the interior space, and it's also a sign in the facade, in the elevation of the building, where how the building put itself in reference with the urban space, with the public space. Is also a border, a limit between the private domain of the house and the public domain of the street, of the road, of the countryside. Uh, what is interesting for us is just to consider the door not as an element, not like a furniture element, but as an architectural element. That means that the door can be considered a space, can be considered a space where you pass a line dividing different environments, but also that have a timing. You have to cross from one situation to another one, having a perception of this. So the door is interesting when it is really a space, a room. So a door for the Cambridge Dictionary can be a piece of wood, glass that is opened and closed so that people can get in and out of a room, building, car, etc. This is the more normal aspect. But we can consider that a door can also be informed, can be inspired by other kind of trespassing situation. The gate, there is a barrier like a door that is used to close an opening in a fence or a wall outside a building. An entrance is a door, a gate, a passage used for entering a room, building, or place. The threshold. The threshold is the floor of an entrance to a building or room, the level or point at which you start to experience something or at which something starts to happen. Typologies that are the arch and the theater. These are two kinds of architecture, which use the door as the strongest part, or one of the strongest part in its form, in its use, in its perception. The arch, of course, is in our history is a monumental architecture, is a memorial architecture. As you know, the Roman arches were made to so that the troops can pass under the arch, celebrating normally a military victory. So the arch is a commemorative architecture, is a freestanding door, so is an open door, is a door detached from any continuity, often with other buildings like walls, etc. So in a way, is the door in itself, is the door that becomes a gate, becomes a spatial device, an element which organizes the space around, indicate a direction, indicate and communicate a deep meaning, no? Because the Roman arch takes inscriptions, texts, images, sculptures, a large apparatus of communication. Also, we have some of these arches nowadays completely detached from their original environment, so we perceive them also more freestanding and more separated from their natural environment than before. So in a way, this presence, this monumental presence of the door is quite interesting because says a lot about what we can do when we design a door. No? How a door can become important, become relevant, become monumental, interesting, etc. This is the Arch of Traian, one of the many some Arch of Traian that we have. This is the same arch. So you see, for example, how the architectural order is important in managing the proportion
the monumental proportion of the arch, the Corinthians capitals, the columns, the pedestal, the attic, etc. These are other arches designed as one simple door, one simple gate. Another Arch of Trajan, this one in Benevento, and the Arch of Titus in Rome, that is one of the best and the best conserved till now our days. So these are simple arches, doors. This is the Arch of Titus in the Roman Forum with the Colosseum in the background. And this is another Arch of Trajan in Timgad, Algeria. And this is a more complex version of the same arch. This is an arch with three doors. With three doors, the central one is double height, and the other two are lower, and they have a fake window, a fake door over the small arches. So there is a more complicated architectural organization of the arch. The arch, in a way, becomes more closer to a real building, but it's still an arch. There is no interior. It's just an abstract division between two sections of space, on the two directions of the arch. And this is the most famous arch in Rome of this kind, with the three doors, the Arch of Constantine, that we see how is imposing and well proportioned and also light in its way. And this is the Arch of Constantine in Rome nowadays. Another kind of a door that is very common is the passing through the wall of a city. The cities in Europe and maybe also out of Europe were walled, closed into a defense wall, and the gates passing through these walls were very important. They were really the places of communication, of access to the city, but also the places where the city show its importance, its richness, etc. This is the Iovia gate, the Porta Borsari in Verona. That is quite strange because is we can say against symmetry. It's like a duplication. There is a duplicated pediment with the columns. We are in the middle, a huge pillar, and then we have another order, two other orders above, very smaller, completely another scale that seems like to have a perspective effect, going smaller, going higher, that make the gate seem higher than it is in reality. But we don't go into this kind of gate of the walled city because that is so specific that we'll ask for a more complete discourse. And this, but is important that this very bad image represent a drawing by Andrea Palladio. Andrea Palladio studying the Porta Iovia of Verona, the gate we have already just seen, studying that. Because this is important because Andrea Palladio designed and built the more interesting, the best Renaissance theater in Italy. That is the Olympic Theater in Vicenza, 1580 and following years. Why the theater is important? Because coming from the Roman tradition, the stage of the theater is closed by an architectural facade. And this architectural facade is based on three doors. Always we find three doors, or rarely five doors, but mostly are three doors that belong to a tradition of making theater, the dramatic organization of the stage follow always this rule. And so the doors are the real doors between, in a way, imagination and reality, no? Are the opening into the stage. So the stage is open towards something that should be the real life. In this case, in the case of the Palladio Theater, doors open towards a simulation of a city. Now, we have against a perspective effect, a perspective trick that gives the illusion that we have a city behind the stage. This city is completely, of course, fake, is out of scale, and is an effect that increase a lot the space of the stage. So the stage is not just the end of the space of the room, but is the filter between the reality of the stage and something that is behind, that is, in this case, imaginary. And this is the plan of the Olympic Theater, where you see the seats, the stage, and the 5 streets that starts from the 3 doors at the back of the stage. So this is the organization of the theater based on 3 doors. And this is the section. You see the seats, this is the huge space of the stage, and this is the fake perspective, the forced perspective of that imaginary urban street designed by Andrea Palladio. This is the section through the stage, into the stage, looking towards the 3 doors, through the 3 doors into the fake perspectives. And this is another view where we see the beautiful architecture of the stage, the seats, and the backstage. The backstage becomes very important and is connected through these doors. This is another section plan where is clear the change of proportions. No? What is real in size is the part where people really stay. No? The people, the audience there, and the actors onto the stage. There, this is an impossible space, a real virtual space that is just to be perceived, just to be seen from the audience. And these are the statues around the seats in the Olympic Theater, and you see in the middle is Andrea Palladio holding the books that you can imagine are the books, the 4 books of architecture. And this is a drawing probably from some academia in the 19th century, showing the typical Roman theater. It's not an amphitheater, it's wrong the caption. It's a theater, because the difference is that when we have an amphitheater, we have a completely, the seats go all around a central stage, like in the Colosseum. The real Roman theater is like this. There is a seat situation that is more or less half a circle and a huge architectural stage. This is completely different from the Greek theater. In the Greek theater, the stage is just a surface. There is no elevation, no architecture. No? So the seats open to the landscape, like in Epidaurus, like in many other situations. So this is the typical of the Roman theater, to be like a closed box. And this architectural facade is the permanent stage of the Roman theater. These are some of Roman theaters. This is in Antalya, in Turkey, where you see the relevance of the doors. No? The doors in the middle of the remnants, in this case of the stage, that was very important, very high, closing completely the view for the audience. So people cannot see anything out of the theater, just the doors are the lonely points where you can imagine something out of the theater. And this is another Roman theater in Borsa in Syria, where again the central door and the other two doors are the core of this strong architectural elevation. So there is always this interesting relationship in the Roman theater stage, the relationship between the doors and the wall. There is a very important architectural organization of the wall, of the elevation of the stage, and the position of the doors there manage completely the entire facade. You see, for example, how the wall recedes in correspondence with the lateral doors, no? And also in the central door. So like if the presence of the doors change the geometry of the wall. They have a relationship. The wall changes where in correspondence of the doors. This is another beautiful theater in Bulgaria where already again we see the stage, the doors, and the architectural organization of the wall. This is another beautiful sample in Palmyra, Syria, another famous, beautiful ecological site that unfortunately now is no more visible because of the war. This beautiful theater, and you see how important is the elevation of the stage with the position of the doors, the real holes, the real breaks into the continuity of the wall. This is the detail of the Palmyra with the doors. The central one is higher, the lateral are smaller and lower. And this is Emerita Augusta Merida in Spain, again, double order of the facade of the theater, of the elevation, and the three doors. This is an interesting situation, is the Roman theater of Sagunto in Spain that was recovered, redesigned, and modernized also by the architect Giorgio Grassi in 1985-93. And this is a very careful work about the remnants of this Roman theater, introducing a lot of elements, but new elements, but also respecting the structure and the proportion of the old theater. You see here the box of the Roman theater, the closed box, the straight line of the elevation of this thick wall that make the elevation of the stage, and the seats, the classical form of the seats. These are some study drawings of Giorgio Grassi considering the stage with the three doors. So you see how the wall managed the presence of the three doors, passing before a very thick wall, then entering a backstage, then passing through another double wall, and at the end having an access to the outside, but not at the ground level. You see the elevation, how these doors are elevated, are not at the level of the ground. And these are the technical drawings showing the managing of the existing remnants together with the new part of the stage and the backstage. And this is an image of the way Giorgio Grassi managed the three doors, introduced this a few steps before every door, and emphasizing also with this curvilinear wall the presence of the three doors. These are other drawings of the stage, again with the huge pillars, the covered stage, the three doors, etc. And you see how, especially in this drawing, it's evident how the stage is like an autonomous building, an autonomous architecture placed in front of the seats. And this is the rear, the external facade, the backstage, the facade of the backstage with the three doors very visible there in the middle of the elevation. Another view of the stage. And this is the evolution, in a way, of the theater, that is the movie theater, the cinema, where in this case, again, doors play a very strong role. In this Scandia cinema, Gunnar Asplund, the Swedish architect, realized some galleries around the main audience seats, playing with this sequence of doors. So this is a wall of doors. Doors create the architecture of this interior wall. We see now the view of this beautiful corridor. You see how decorated are the doors. There are fake columns, pediments, ornament, red and gold. So everything is very strong, very elaborated, very strong in the image. So there is a very interesting sequence. And you see on the right the gallery. So the gallery is quite a continuous space. No? You see, especially in the image below, all the small boxes that are open towards the main part of the cinema. And every box, of course, corresponds to a door. These are the plans, different level, the lower level, the continuous gallery, and the upper level with these small stairs and doors. This is another view, the Scandia. And this is the door of the Royal Gallery, the main emphasis, the biggest door for the Royal Gallery, that is the central box for the royal family. This is the big loggia of the royal family, for the royal family. And this is another view of the interior at the lower level with all this, again, a very strong sequence of doors. The doors really make the elevation, manage the architecture of this place. Of course, there is also the urban question. For example, this is a beautiful, famous street in Genova, Strada Nuova, the new street, that is marked by a sequence of beautiful Renaissance palace. And you see also in this drawing that unfortunately is no great definition, but you see how the sequence of the entrances of the main doors of this nobiliar palaces give the rhythm to the street, organize the relationship between the palaces and the street, and between the street and the sequence of palaces. So the sequence of palaces is a sequence of entrances, of doors. Doors that in the Renaissance buildings are often a special, have a special place in the facade. Like in this case, this is Palazzo Farnese, where it was designed before by Antonio da Sangallo, and Michelangelo increased the relevance of the main door in the center of the facade, designing a loggia over the main door, emphasizing also, and with the huge symbol of the family, emphasizing the central axis and the difference of the door. All the other elements in the facade are repeated elements. The main door is the only exception, is the only exceptional architectural presence in the facade. Now, here again, you find in this facade, the main facade of St. Peter in Rome, one of the most famous buildings in Rome, you see the idea of the Roman theater with the doors. We have three main doors that are all the same. Then we have two huge porticos at the two ends of the facade, and we have two minor doors on the sides of the central main door. So there is a further articulation of the relationship between the wall and the doors. And the doors really manage the rhythm and the proportion of the facade together, of course, with the huge columns and the classical order. Coming to our time, this is a building that Gino Baldi showed us in a previous lesson, and I think is a very interesting way of how to manage entrances and doors. Now, this is the James Simon Gallery by David Chipperfield in Berlin, and is a system of different doors. We see here in this image one entrance here, another entrance there along this small wall, a main entrance at the top of the stairs, another entrance on the right side into that courtyard. So there is a system of different entrances, and every door is different, and all doors combine a multiple direction space, an interesting combination of different tensions, of different size, of different scale. And this we see here, there is the coming from the corner low right, we see the small entrance here to get the elevator, the main stairs going to the main entrance at the upper level, and the portico here closing a courtyard where we find other two entrances, no? The old building on the right entering there, and the new addition on the left with the huge entrance. So it's a really a complex, interesting system of doors and of entrances. And this is the upper level with the main entrance at the top of the huge stairs. Another aspect that we see, that we have seen, for example, in the theater, is the door as a space. When the door that, if we consider the door in abstract, is just one line to be trespassed, just a limit, grows and become more and more important, acquire the dignity of a real space. When we have that, of course, we find often something of very interesting under the architectural aspect. We have seen, for example, that in the Pantheon, but coming to more recent buildings, for example, this is a very original reinterpretation of the classical entrance. This is the Resurrection Chapel in Stockholm by Sigurd Leverentz, and is a quite clear demonstration of how to make the door as something of really original and different from the main building. Also, it's very interesting that Leverentz used classical orders, classical elements, but not respecting at all the symmetry. So acting with these elements like in a free montage, no? Using the modern technique of the montage, putting together different things, not respecting clearly a traditional order. So you see here the main volume of the chapel and this huge portico covering the main entrance. And this is the untraditional, strange position that Leverentz gave to the main door. You see how the door is big, how important is the portico covering and indicating the main entrance. And also it's interesting, this rotation, that you enter from one corner of the building and also along the smaller axis. The main axis of the building is rotated of 90 degrees. This is another heretic choice of Sigurd Leverentz. You see here the montage, the very rough montage of two different buildings at the end, the chapel on the left with this huge wall and the light roof, and on this side the massive architecture of the portico, very very important and very monumental, very more monumental than the chapel itself. Sorry. And you see here, this is another typical way of representation. There is the plan of the ceiling of the roof, the roof seen from below. This is the plan. So you see how emphatically undersigned is the main door and the strange position in the corner. Then there is a secret stairs there, some small elements, a storage space, a service entrance there, and a huge window on the other side there. A huge window that also becomes in a way the counterpart of the entrance on that side. If from outside the entrance is so important, inside the building, the more important thing is on the other side, and this system of three windows. And here we see the portico of the main entrance, the service entrance. So it's very clear, no, how people have to use these different doors. The other one is very big, is covered with a portico, etc. This one is a service door, so it's completely naked, we could say, extremely simple, no ornament at all. On this side, the huge window, three elements, that is something like, in a way, again, like an autonomous architecture with its roof, its ornament, its columns, its basement too. This is the interior with the small the door there, and this is the chapel with the huge window. Again, is interesting, the altar there, and it's interesting how the window is out of scale. There is a display of scale. Some elements are very small, are too small in a way, like the altar. Other elements, like the window, are more larger than you can imagine. There is a play, a manipulation of scales. And this is another building by Sigurd Leverentz. So we see here how Leverentz, that designed before using classical elements, arrived to a very simplified architecture based on bricks, on naked walls, on very simple elements. And again, in this church, is another church, St. Mark's, Leverentz studied a way of entering that is no more based on the huge columns, the pediment, the classical order, but it just designed a moving wall, using the wall and creating this kind of intermediate space, intermediate between the indoor and the outdoor, repaired but still outdoor. So we see here is the number, is this point, this is the arrow of the entrance, and there is this curved wall that make this kind of external atrium, a repaired place just to stay before entering, just to create a pause between the outdoor and the indoor. And this is the detail of this strange space. Now, it's strange because this curved wall is not directly related with the door. So the creation of the space of the door is not exactly in correspondence with the door. This is very refined. You make a door there, and you make a space of pause immediately close to the door, but not exactly in front of the door. So this space, in a way, is a nameless space. No one knows what is the use of that, but it's very important, indicating that that is an important place. It's important because there is the entrance door. This is a work of art that is also a joke, no? And this is just to understand how is important conceptually the door. This is the door that the artist Marcel Duchamp built in an apartment where he had two rooms. One room was the studio, the atelier. The other room was the bedroom, and they just had one door that when closed one room opened the other one. So there was a door that was always closed and open at the same time. Also playing with this French proverb that says a door must be open or shut. This door is always open and shut. Gunnar Asplund, again, another Scandinavian architect, worked with this very simple system of transforming a door in a space. Like in Duchamp, the moving door, the double door, create something like a virtual space. There is a space there that is sometimes in communication with one room, sometimes with the other room. In this case, the Asplund entrance to the wooden chapel creates a space. It's a door that is not 20, 30, 40 centimeters thick, but maybe a couple of meters. So creating a real space. This is very simple, but very interesting. Change completely the perception. The passing before the outside and the inside of this courtyard, this precinct, is very more important. Having this time, it takes some time to pass the door. Sometimes some meters, sometimes some space. This comes from a very far tradition of emphasizing the access to an important place. This, for example, is the treasury of Atreus, a Tholos tomb at Mycenae in Greece, a very old architecture built more than 1,000 years before Christ, that is based on this concept, a very long access, with this, you see the door, how is important. So the door is at the end of this excavation into the hill. And then you get another, you see now better, you have all this space that is called dromos. So is where you run outside of the building, but already into an architectural space, a controlled architectural space, that you have the door, that you have another corridor. So you have a compressed space, lower and narrower, the stomion, and then you enter the chamber. You enter the round chamber that is the perfect space, not dynamic space, an immobile, a not movable space, just a space to stay and meditate. So the dromos, like the words say, is a space where you go. The chamber is the place where you stay. So this sequence, extremely elementary, is an architecture. Is an architectural device giving three different experiences to the visitor. The experience of entering a hill, still outdoor, the experience of entering a compressed small space, linear, and the experience of arriving in a large circular domed space. That is this one, excavated into the hill. And this is the dromos, the corridor that is like an outdoor atrium before the door. This is another beautiful architecture that in some way managed this idea of developing a simple door in an entire architectural structure. This is the Galleria Spada, the Spada Gallery in Spada Palace in Rome, designed by Francesco Borromini in the middle of the 17th century. And it is a very refined device to connect one main courtyard. You see here in the plan, there is the main courtyard there. Then there is other spaces, another courtyard, minor courtyard there, then a very small garden at the end of this perspective. So how to connect the secondary courtyard with this small garden in the more interesting way? Transforming that door, that passing, into an architectural experience that is made just to be perceived. No? So you see in the left side of the slide, this corridor that is an augmented perspective, no? Becoming lower and denser. The gallery seems longer and more and higher. No? So it's a compressed, artificially fake space, artificially compressed space. So the small garden at the end of the gallery seems more distant and more important. And these are the plan and the elevation of the gallery, where you see the trick that Borromini used and the effect in the image on the left side. And this is the beautiful perception. No? This is very similar to the urban streets that Palladio did in his Olympic Theater in Vicenza. This is another door by Marcel Duchamp. Many years after the door in Rue Larrey, Duchamp, at the end of his life, organized this installation in the Philadelphia Museum of Art that emphasized another character of the door. The door is closing a space. So a door is also a mystery, is also a focus. No? In the middle of a wall, a door is the most important presence and is something that says that there is another space behind there, but sometimes you cannot access that space, or you can have just a limited perception of that space. No? A door can be open, but also a door can be not operable, can be closed, or can be closed, for example, for some people, like the door of your house is, you can open that, but people cannot. So people passing by your house see your door and can imagine what is behind that door, but cannot access your private space. So the door is typically a border between public space and the private space. And there is a specific connection between these spaces of different character, that is, we could say, voyeurism. So what you can perceive through a door that you cannot open. Sometimes, often, you can't see anything. Sometimes there is, for example, a glassed part. Sometimes there are holes, like in this door. So this door is made by Duchamp in a way that people can go there and spy through a spire, through a hole that is there just to look through. Voyeurism. So people access the port and look through the port, looking into this installation. So this is the strange image. Now I don't go into this, the analysis of this image that is very, perturbant in a way. It's not clear. It's like a woman that we cannot imagine if it's alive or is dead or is sleeping. We don't know. There is a strange landscape like a Leonardo landscape. There is a lamp. There is also the water pouring down. So it's a strange mechanism that is also inspired probably by that drawing that you see by Albrecht Dürer, the observation of the woman. So there is this kind of voyeurism that was very repeated in many times in many places, and this is the organization of the reconstruction of the work of Duchamp in its element. No? So the door is like the wall of a camera obscura, of a secret space that you can just spy through some holes. And that is the theater-like installation offered to the eye of the visitor. Another artist that worked very well, I think, in this managing the access of a place, creating a place and creating an access system to this place is the artist James Turrell, an American artist. He did a lot of different installations. This is the sky space in the Kildare Forest in north of England, and is something that is in a way can remember the Atreus tomb that we have seen in Mycenae in Greece. No? There is a central space, there is an oculus like the Pantheon, an open skylight in the middle of this space, and there is a complex system of accessing the space. You see here, this sketch is very clear. You have a 9-meter diameter of this cylindrical space. You have something like a dome with a 3.5 opening, circular opening there. And you have this long corridor, very low, 2.30 meters is very low. And this kind of process that you have to make to reach the main room. And this is the realized work. You see the passing through. So the door is again transformed into a space as a speciality. You know? Is a long space that takes an important amount of space and of time to be crossed. This is the interior of the door, the access, the corridor, the door transformed into a corridor. And this is the more detailed drawing of the interior room, the chamber with this oculus in the middle and the bench all around just to contemplate the sky. Another detail of this space that is completely related with the light, also with astronomy, with the movement of the sun, of the etc. etc. And these are other images of the effects that you have in this kind of magic astrological room. This is one of the view of the sky you can get there. This is a more important work by James Turrell, is the Rodin crater in Flagstaff, Arizona. James Turrell bought this crater and he started working just to create a huge point of observation of the sky. You know, the room we have seen before is just like a fragment, just a model of this huge observatory that Turrell is working on since 30, 40 years. And all this stuff is based on this idea of compressed space and open space. This is the Rodin crater. It's a beautiful place in the middle of the desert. And this is the scheme. You have these different spaces, the north space, west space, east space, south lodge, etc., these corridors that go deep into the mountain and arrives in the center of the hill where there is the eye of the crater. These are beautiful drawings showing the design of this observatory. This is a more technical representation. So you see that everything is based on this uh, rhythm between open spaces, often circular space, central space, and the long corridor. You see also in the section, no? You have a discontinuity of the corridors and the poses of the main rooms. And this is one of the room where, again, you have this kind of relationship, and you see how important is the access and the organization of the relationship between the corridor and the space. These are the models. You see the access, the stairs. There you go into the mountain. Then you have an atrium-like, and then you access the main room. Now, this sequence, the managing of this sequence is very important. Is what makes architecture interesting. These are other models and drawings of these elements. This is one of the rooms, and on the right there is the managing of the eye of the crater. And this is the crater with this mysterious architecture in the center. This is another project by an artist, another permanent installation. Is a passage, is a memorial for the huge, the great writer, philosopher Walter Benjamin, German writer that suicided there, passing the borders between France and Spain, escaping the Nazis, and he found the end of his life in this point. And Danny Caravan realized many years later, more or less, I think 50 years later, this memorial. This memorial is like a very long door connecting the surface of the ground, the upper level, to the sea. So it's like a cut into the mountain. You see better that in the model on the right and in these sketches. And this is the door which connect the place above with the sea below. In a way, remembering the way where Benjamin died, of course. So it's just to create an opening, a door that drive to something that we don't know. No? It's an opening towards the afterlife in a way. No? It's very symbolic, but also it's very real. It's very related with the place, with the landscape, and with the physical experience that people can make going down the stairs into this kind of tube. These are the stairs, and this is the physical experience, the perception you have of staying something, to stay inside something or very architectural, but also with a very strong relationship with the landscape. Introducing geometry, very strong geometry and strong materials like corten here in the middle of a natural landscape. And leave that this contradiction between geometry, between design and nature create the fascination of the place, the poetry of the place. This is another view of this this is another interesting project that again elaborated the same concept of passing into the mountain, elaborated the concept of a long access, a tunnel. In this case, we are here in Bellinzona. This is the level of the city, and near the city, facing the historic center of the city, there is the castle that is called Castel Grande. And Aurelio Galfetti designed and built this connection with elevators and stairs, and he creates this very interesting section. You see the natural form of this hill like this. He excavates there, creating a beautiful experience. Now remembering again the Atreus tomb. And this is the breaking into the mountain with this progression that we see here from outside. How is important this door? This door is not just a rectangular hole, but there is this huge void column above that emphasizes, that connect the scale of the door that has a human scale with the bigger scale of the hill, of the mountain, of the landscape, of the castle. And this is the perception into the corridor where the ceiling is going down, progressing down while you enter more into the mountain. Another aspect that is interesting is when these doors in a way becomes plans and volumes. I explain better. No? For example, these are the barrières of Paris, the gates of Paris, designed by Claude Nicolas Ledoux. These barriers are not gates for military use. They are gates for paying taxes, no? Because every merchandise entering the city of Paris had in the past to pay taxes, etc. So they are they are like the toll, and you have to stop and to be recognized, to pay taxes, etc., etc. So these barriers, these gates for Ledoux were an exercise, and one of the more interesting aspects of these many designs is how Ledoux managed the door. No? You find that Ledoux considered in these gates, but also in other projects, many different ways in establishing the relationship between the door and the building. No? The door can be in many different positions, can help creating many different spaces. So it's like a catalog of different solutions. And also these doors are inside buildings that are urban doors, are gates. This is, for example, the Gate of Throne in Paris. And you see how important are the doors that enters into the two buildings here, the two sides of the gate. And here it seems that Ledoux takes the door as the theme of his project, the topic. So this door is many doors. How many doors we can see here? At least 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is for sure another one there. So 5 doors to access one building. So doors again are the protagonist of this huge entrance. So you see the arch is very big, then inside there is another arch, then there are the smaller doors, etc. So there is this sequence. Elisa Gussoni left the meeting. Okay. So this, for example, is one of the samples that we want to show you about the Ledoux solutions, also in other projects. In this case, for example, the process is to excavate the volume. Imagined, Ledoux imagined a round building, and the entrance is produced, excavating the volume, keeping away a part of the house, and these large columns open up the entrance doors. So is something made by keeping matter away. In this case, is more similar to the classical tradition, adding to the main volume other volumes, minor volumes that indicate and give shelter to the doors. This is a project of a prison where this system is very clear, to add an external volume for the door. This is another more elaborated system. You have something that come up from the main facade that remains in the background, then you have a portico, then you have another level above, but you have an entrance space that is still outdoor, and then you have the three doors, the three doors of the theater. This is a double movement. You have one portico getting out of the main volume, but you have the volume that recede, that go back. So you create a space that is half covered by produced by the portico, but half is produced by this keeping away some part of the mass of the building. This is another elaboration, to having something like an semicircular additional room protruding by the main mass of the volume and putting a dome over there. So the entrance in this case acquire a very strong accent, monumental accent. For example, the portico has the same height of the entire building. So this is more monumental as another option. This is a variation of that. For example, in this case, you have an semicircular space that is lower than the main building. You have a terrace over there that emphasize that protrusion. You have sculptures that give more richness to this solution. And you have a space that enter into the house. This elliptical space that you perceive just from outside, just as a portico, is a real room with this elliptical shape. This is another variation. You have the portico, the same height of the building, but you have also two wings on the two sides of the portico, and then you have the receding volume. So you have a sequence of plants that stay one behind the others. So this composition with plants create a volumetric effect, but just working with the progression of plants. You see, for example, where in plan, where the columns stay, that are not aligned with the wall, they are just a little out of the wall line. And then there is another wall behind where is the garderobe there. No, this is very clear. You have, you have a sequence of spaces, very compressed but very clear. The columns are in the first level. Then you have back another volume, and then you have back the main volume. So this sequence creates the space of the where to put the door. And the door is in the middle of this space that has its specific spatial definition. It's like a huge niche. Now we come to a modernist architect that, for example, designed an interesting atrium and door for this villa. This is Villa Mairea, is one of the main, the more important villas designed by this great architect, Finnish architect Alvar Aalto. And you see how the portico is translated in modernist version. This is the villa. There is a series of windows with the rooms. There is a main detached different volumes with the living room. And on the right here, there is the portico. The portico is again, like we have seen in other previous architecture, an autonomous architecture. It's like another architecture put there to give shelter to the entrance, but also to make the entrance visible, not to make evident the position of the door, the entrance door. We see here, this is the L plan of the villa, and on the left there is this kind of strange organic form with the stones that drive into the house through a sequence of space. No? We have a covered outdoor space, then we have a small covered space there with the first door, then we have a small atrium, and then another door, and at the end, so the door is made of three different spaces. These are other images. You see here on the left of the ground level, the sequence of the entrance. And you see also in the axonometric view how the door is a complex system and how it's different from the house. You know, there is an autonomy of the architecture of the door. These are some sketches by Alvaralto about the entrance to Villa Mairea. This is a more defined version, also quite different from the final one. And this is the final solution. So you have, for example, this very rustic, very rural steps, just made with slabs of stones, a more refined portico with the special columns, you know, a kind of architecture that you don't find in other part of the house, and the access to the door. Also, there is a gap there, so the light can enter just close to the door, where you have to maybe to find your key and to open your door. And then you see the small atrium with another skylight over there, and then the real door at the end of this process. It's important also in the small scale, in a small space, there is a richness of different solution, of different situation, an assemblage of different components that stay together in a complex manner. This is a view from getting out from the house. So you see also how the roof is complicated. No? It's not just one slab, or two slabs, two different levels with some light passing through them. So it's quite, it's extremely refined system. This is another modernist building, very famous, very important, the Villa Stein-de-Monzy in Garches, France, by Le Corbusier. And here again, you have a complex system of accessibility. First, you have this kind of concierge space there at the limit of the property, of course, that is already a very elegant barrier and architecture. Then at the end, you have, at the end of the perspective, you see the villa. You see the villa that show three doors. You have the garage door on the left, a minor door probably for service situation there, and on the right, I don't know if you can see, covered with a cantilevered canopy, there is the main door. So the three doors, in a way, are the exception in a facade that at the higher levels is perfectly symmetrical and continuous with the ribbon windows, you know, the two levels of ribbon windows. This is the view from the concierge, from the access point, where you have this the managing of this perspective, and this already is a door, no? With this L canopy over there, and this small sign in the ground, this small concrete square is very important. No? This is the sign that you are entering into a different realm, into a different condition of privacy and publicity. And so also just to make this sign is a very refined action of Le Corbusier. No? So this small passage, because the main one is the passage for the cars, this small passage with the canopy, the small steel pillars, the square concrete in the ground becomes an interesting architectural experience. It's very important also to ask the visitor to take the time, no? to give time to pass from one condition to the other one. So you see here the levels of the villa, and it's interesting that you have also another access on the back of the villa, not the access to the garden. Like in the many traditional villa, you have two different possibility of access the the building. You see here on the left the ground floor with the main access there with the canopy, the smaller access here, and the garage, huge space on the left. And behind there is these stairs, very detached from the house, going up. Again, there is a square here in the ground. These stairs going up and driving into this terrace, and there is another open space there and the connection with the second floor of the house. And this is the sequence of the main facade, the garage, the service entrance, and we could say the monumental entrance with the huge canopy suspended from the facade. Over the other entrance, there is a small balcony. This small balcony is anyway indicating another axis. So there is in a way a competition between these two entrances. It's not clear. Probably this is more important, is more evident, but also the other one has a monumental, in a way, a monumental form. And you see here in the section, the canopy suspended, attached with the column that is behind the facade, the canopy, and on the other side, this is the stairs reaching this terrace at the first level. And this is the view from the garden. We have here this path into the garden, two steps. The second step is the large square that also where starts the stairs and the terrace. So you see how elaborated, how complicated, how interesting is the passing from the garden level to the first level, the access to from the garden to the villa. There is a sequence of different spaces. It's not just a door. It's steps, is a path, there are two steps, a stair, a terrace, a huge covered open space here, like a huge loggia, and then finally you access the building, the interior. This is another beautiful, strange building by Adolf Loos with an interesting entrance. This entrance is Villa Moller in Vienna, is signed with this protruding volume suspended over the door. So the door at the end is very small, is in axis with the gate from the road, but these huge volumes and also the small excavated part over the protruding volume indicates very strongly this central axis, this axiality, this symmetry of the facade, emphasizing the presence of the door. Also, if the door is really small and humble, we could say. This is the the system of the house. So you see, this is the entrance. Everything is quite domestic. It's not very monumental. No, there is a corridor. You enter there. You pass. You enter, and you have to turn right for the main floor, and then you access the main rooms, the dining and the music room, etc. This is again Villa Moller. in Vienna, where you see again the solution with the protruding volume, and on the other side the access to the garden. Like in the Le Corbusier villa, this is a more traditional effect, but again you have an elaborated relationship with the garden. There is a path, there is a stairs, there is a terrace, there is a distance, and then you access the house. This is an extremely elaborated gate. This is the door that access the School of Architecture of Venice, the UAV, and was designed after some drawings by Carlo Scarpa. Carlo Scarpa died before, but his collaborator, Sergio Loos, gathers these drawings and realized this complicated gate quite interesting. You see there is a large facade, there is this canopy, there is this sliding door in steel, very heavy, with this mechanical system, with a huge marble panel attached there, suspended there from the frame of the door. So the door becomes something like a moving architecture. It's not like a door. And behind the door, there is this portal, this concrete portal, very, very important, very high. And this triangular wall that, in a way, invite you to enter. Is a promise of a garden, of a sweet place, of a shadow place in summertime, etc. And this is the same door, the same gate seen from inside, where there is the path, there are these concrete surfaces. You see the position of the tree, and this inclinated, sloping surfaces connecting the level of the door. This is the portal, the concrete slab of the portal, and getting down into the level of the garden. And on the left is put in horizontal the old door that was the access to the convent that was this building before the transformation into the School of Architecture. And this is another view of this portal that's put there like a pool with some water included into this concrete garden in a way. This is the sloping surface connecting the level of the garden with the huge portal that overpass the gate. This is another interesting entrance designed from Carlo Scarpa. This is the entrance and the exit to the Museum of Castelvecchio in Verona. The question here was to make in one door two different doors, one door for the entrance and one door from the exit. So to separate the flows, so Scarpa maintains of course, the gate of the old buildings. This is another medieval building transformed in a museum in the 60s of the last century, and introduced a wall, this L wall that in a way make clear where is the entrance. From distance, you understand that is the access point to the museum. But on the other side, break the door in two different doors. You see here from the other side the position of this, in a way, stranger that break the continuity of the facade of the museum. And this is the entrance seen from the inside, with this elaborated system. The original gate was very high, so Scarpa introduced a lower flat ceiling. You see the sign of the sliding system in the floor. And this is another part of this beautiful museum with another access. There is a small bridge. This is a part that is into the old walls of the city. And this is a huge loggia with all the system of access with different stairs, different levels, and this famous sculpture of Can Grande della Scala. This is another interesting access system where the door becomes the largest space. You know, it becomes something like a courtyard, like a very complex, not so complex, but very important space. You know? Again, there is a portal. This huge beam has at the end the only meaning of signing the entrance point and virtually closed this courtyard. This is the Casa Cilena by Smiljan Radic. And you see, again, like in the Scarpa system, no? There is a surface, there is a tree put into a mineral, a paved surface, and a huge portal. No? The portal is bigger than the building in this case. This is the system of the house, the layout. There is all the rooms, bedrooms in the back, living room, all in direct contact with the open courtyard. This is on the left, you see the tree and the beam with the access to the courtyard. And this is another view of the courtyard where the house at the end has no door. No? The entire facade of the living rooms is accessible from outside. But this huge portal is symbolically the entrance to the house. No? So there is a door, a gate that is not functional, is just symbolic, but is important at the same level, or maybe more important than a real door, a real entrance. This is another view from inside the space towards the gate. So you see how clear is the gate space there. These are other views of this very simple but very strong courtyard with all this part that can be opened and closed, these living rooms. Another view of the courtyard with a gate. And this is the back, the last part of the courtyard with the other three. And this is the back of the house with all the windows of the bedrooms. These are the elevations with the sign of the beam. You see the beam in elevation and in section is the out of scale element in comparison with the small size of the house, very flat, very long. This is a house by Iris Mateus, where the entrance is very interesting. No, it's not just a door, but it's a complicated system. You see the house is made into the different of levels between the upper part and the lower part of this sloping hill. And so it's like a wall in a way. And the entrance is excavated, is like excavated into the mass, the concrete mass of the building, making something like an incomplete dome with a skylight and with the main access to the house. This is the section through this dome with the skylight and the entrance, the access to the inner part of the building. And you see here in the roof the skylight with this huge sign that in a way is like the sign of the entrance from above. And also there is these stairs that allow an entrance from the upper level. And you see the layout of the house with this small courtyard, around the courtyard there, the stairs going up, and I imagine you can see the small spaces of the toilets and the bedroom. And these are the plans at different levels with the system is a concept, is a diagram starting from a circle. Starting from a circle inserted in a mass, then you develop this L system around the circle, then you connect the L with another smaller L, then you cut the mountain and you go up to the upper level outdoor with these stairs, and then you fill the space, you fill the gaps with the rooms you need. And this is the roof plan. This is the section with the passing from the main atrium and the exit to the upper level. And this is the corridor connecting the different rooms and one of the two round courtyards. A view from the courtyard. Remember, the James Turrell spaces are more or less the same effect. This oculus looking up into the sky, and this is the stairs. That is the other important door connecting the house with the garden at the upper level. And this is the view of the roof with the entrance, with the stairs, and the two small round courtyards, and the huge hall with the oculus over the other entrance. This is another school of architecture, and is very specific because in this building by João Batista Villanova Artigas, that this is the School of Architecture of Sao Paulo, the Facultad de Arquitectura e Urbanismo de Universidad de Sao Paulo. There is no entrance. No? This is like an open building. This is a political choice, that the building is completely accessible. There is no door, but there is a very important system of receiving the people. Now you have this huge volume suspended over this strong concrete pillars. Then you go into this porch, and you go under this volume, and you reach the central space inside that is like a huge beautiful courtyard with a great skylight over. These are the plans where you see the entrance is here, and this part is a ramp, is a huge ramp connecting all the levels. So this system is very important, is rotated 90 degrees in reference with the main courtyard, that is this one, creating a very dynamic and interesting situation. You see here, the steps are the entrance point. You see the section with the ramp connecting all levels. This is the entrance space, and you enter through that passage. And this is the situation. The ramp is there, freestanding. You see outdoor from the ramp, there is a continuity between the indoor and outdoor. Also, there is a climate in Sao Paulo that allows that. You can really make a building that is not separated from the outdoor. You don't need any kind of protection from the cold or also from the hot in this case. And this is this beautiful access system, vertical connection, but also system of accessing the building, enter the building. And this is an assembly into the school with all the people using the ramp as a theater, as a place of observation over the large covered plaza in the middle of the building. Then there are the office on the left side and the classrooms on the right side, this huge volume. And this is another building that has as an entrance, as a door, a ramp. A ramp, in this case, is the OMA Ramcolas University building. Is a building with some huge classes and a huge restaurant in the campus of Utrecht for students, a building for students. And in this case, Colas take the soil of the road into the building, going up there, like if the cars could enter the building. Really, the cars cannot enter, of course, but there is this continuity. No? You have like a road entering the building with this huge portico and the doors there at the end of the ramp. This is the specific, peculiar form of the building that is like the ramp generate this huge surface, concrete surface going up and turning there and going back there, covering the entire building. There is the restaurant up there, below there. And this is the sloping ramp you see here, the sloping ramp entering the building. And these are the different levels. The ramps then go into the building and connect all the levels. This is the roof plan, and this is the ramp, sorry. This is the ramp entering the building, going following from outside, continuing in the inside of the building. So the ramp again, these are the other connection, all ramps or very low stairs following the sloping of this concrete slab. This is another view of the model with the restaurant below and this curved space above. This is the curved space, and this is a detail of the restaurant and the stairs below and the curved space above. And this is the other facade. You see the ramp on the left corner and the slab, the concrete slab going up and forming this the entire volume of the building. Okay, so you have seen all the images. There is an observation from Philippe Emile. These are similar to the Caselli Daziari near the Arco della Pace in Milan, exactly. Also, that part of Milano is called the Napoleonic part. No? It's very French in the conception and is similar to, but also the Caselli Daziari are the tall barrier that were in many different cities. But the ones in Paris absolutely are the most famous and also the most beautiful, and many of them are still there, designed by Ledoux. Please don't hesitate if you have questions or observations. I don't know. Also, if you have everything is clear about the assignment you are working on, we'll see them on Thursday, and also we launch another assignment starting from the doors and also from other elements. We will give you other information. We will give you next Thursday. Okay, there is any other question? Okay, so I think we can close here. I'll put the PDF of the lesson on Webeep and also the link to the recording as soon as possible. And so thank you for your attention, and we'll see on next Thursday in class. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, and bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.